Welcome back to the Diary of a CFO podcast, the podcast where finance leaders share lessons, challenges, and wins that shape their careers as well as their organizations. Today, I'm so delighted to have with me Kendra LaFleur. She is a director at FORVIS Mazars with over 14 years of experience in the not-for-profit, education, and public sectors. She chairs the AICPA's Emerging Professional Initiatives Committee and serves as board treasurer for Girls on the Run, Georgia. Recognized as a 40 under 40 recipient, Kendra is an alumni of Georgia State University, where she excelled in track and field. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wasi. I'm so honored to be a part of your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I love the fact that we both graduated from Georgia State. You were in track and field. I didn't know we had that thing because I was more focused on the free pizza spot. So you have such an impressive background. Why don't you tell us first about your journey? What's the story behind how you find yourself in your current role and maybe some unexpected twists along the way?
Sure. Again, thank you so much for having me, Wasi. I'm so excited to be here. So, as you mentioned, I am a alumni of Georgia State University. I graduated back in the day. I don't put a year on it. I just say back in the day. So, I graduated back in the day, and I had a degree in accounting and managerial science. And so, being in the accounting program, it's normal for you to kind of be pushed into public accounting because you just learn so much. It's a natural segue into the profession. And so that interests me. I love the idea of working in multiple industries. I loved the financial aspect of it. I love the idea of being willing to travel, like that kind of stuff. It just interests me. And so I decided to go into public accounting. I didn't want to go to Big Four. So I wanted to do something, but I knew I also didn't want to do a small firm. I wanted something like in the middle. And so I ended up at a regional firm here in Atlanta and just started as an intern and just made my way to partner. It's so interesting. You talked about twist along the way. Well, I will tell you, I never wanted to be a partner. Like that was really never my path. I wanted to work in the profession 3 to 7 years. Most that's what most accountants do in public accounting. You kind of jump in and then you jump back out. It's very normal. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the profession for about 7 years or so. And then I wanted to go work for a Fortune 500 company. And in Atlanta, they're all here essentially. There's so much opportunity. And so that was really the path that I wanted to take. But instead, here I am. I mean, I made partner and now I work in the nonprofit sector. So completely different than what I had planned on. But it's been amazing. So grateful to be in the industry that I work in. And so it's just been great.
Oh, that's so cool because you spend a lot of time in the dark side, what we like to call it, the dark side. But we need you guys. We need you guys. What would you say when you say you didn't expect to be partner, then you got to partner? What's the view from the partner level? I always feel like fascinating that because it is a lot of work to be in public because you did auditing. What does it feel like to be there? Like, what are the realities to operate at that level?
Yeah, I will tell you when I made partner, it was emotional for me. Like I literally shed tears upon, it was very emotional for just a number of reasons. And so I will tell you, you feel like you've made it essentially, like you work so hard and in public accounting, like that's usually the path. It's like you feel like you made it when you get to the partner level. At least for me, I know there's other pathways you can take. And so I had felt like I had arrived. But I will tell you, there was a sense of pressure too, right? I felt like I was responsible for so many clients and that I was the gate, right? I'm the gatekeeper. Like it kind of the buck stops with me. Normally, if you're a senior or a manager, you always have somebody above you that you kind of can like feed your questions into. And not to say that I don't have resources to like leverage and peers and things like that. But when you're in that seat, it's just different. It's sort of like being a CFO or a CEO, you just kind of sort of feel that pressure, that responsibility. It's like track and field, you train for it. You have so much experience. And so you are ready for the occasion. It's just step into the line. It's like, "Whew, okay, here we go." We're so ready for it. And it really has been great.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love how you say similar to being a CEO or CFO is you can no longer say that's above my pay grade or you should talk to my manager. Like this is it.
That's exactly right. Now people are saying that about you, about me, right? Like it's the exact same thing.
Yes. Wow. And I love the fact that you also mentioned how you were going to go Fortune 500, but then you ended up in not for profit, like completely opposite. So, what really led you into that path, right, of not for profit and where you stay and where you are now?
Yeah, so I have always had a heart for nonprofit work, and I do want to be clear, just for the listeners. I worked in a restaurant, like I audited restaurants. I've done construction, manufacturing, distribution. Like I've done all the industries, right? And so when I got into the non for profit space, you know how it just feels right. I love the idea of working on mission driven work. It just does it for me, and so there's so much opportunity in that space. And it takes a special person to work in that industry. It really does because like a lot of times they don't have a staff full of CPAs. They really do need your expertise. They just don't have that background sometimes. And they really need a strategic partner to kind of help them scale. And for profit, non for profit, they're all businesses. You're still making money, you still have the expenses, so it's very similar in certain aspects of it, but something about non-for-profits, I just love being able to support that work. And I'll tell you, Wasia, when I work with a client and they're serving, let's say they've got 1,500 kids that they're serving, and I'm partnering with them and we're doing all the things. And to kind of fast forward in time, and now you're serving 5,000 children. Like to me, that's just success. And so I just love to being a part of that journey because then that's also my gift back. And so it's just been great. I love the area that I work in.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I can feel it in your voice, feel the energy. It's awesome. And I think for our listeners too, I know we say not for profit, but there is so many types of not profit. Like running a university is different than a food bank, is different than, you know, a lot of other businesses when you think about not for profit and the thing they serve. So what are some of the biggest differences that you see? And how would you say they compare to for profit businesses besides just revenue and expenses?
The structure is a lot different. I will say I love that question because believe it or not, I get that a lot. So let's just talk about nonprofit first. You have a 501(c)(3), you have a 501(c)(6). Like there's a number of different types of non-for-profits. It's not just the food bank. There's associations, there's the foundations, so there's just so many different aspects of it. But then there's also when you think about higher education, there's public universities like a Georgia State, but then there's private universities like a Spelman College. So there's just so many different types of industries within those categories, just like for profit. There's construction, manufacturing, there's all of that. Like I mentioned earlier, they all are really a business. You're still trying to make money. And so when you think about a for profit versus a nonprofit, nonprofits get a lot of money from most of the time, get a lot of money from the federal government. In this climate, that's complicated, right? With all of the executive orders and all the things that are happening, regardless of political affiliation, it's just complicated. Whereas for profit, you're making a product or you have a service. And so that it's not so granted, you have the tariffs, and that's also in DC. There's a lot. So everybody's affected, but just in a different way, if that makes sense. And so how I approach the different clients, how I approach my schools, Department of Education is kind of a big topic of discussion and their financial aid. And then you have your for-profits who maybe they have money from a certain organization within DC that they are no longer getting. So it's a lot of commonality, if that makes sense. I know a lot of times people are like they're so vastly different, but not really. I mean, you're here to perform a service or sell a good or whatever, but then you have the expenses and you still have all the complications that kind of go along with it. And so I approach them differently. So does that kind of answer your question? Because really, that's what it is, really.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I like that you touched on the current political environment. And I myself work for a not for profit. So even though at this time we are in Q2 2025, it feels like a long year already. And I know from you being a strategic partner, because now auditing, FP&A, like I feel like every part of finance and accounting, people are expecting us to be business partners. So what's your approach to working with your clients beyond compliance? Like, how are you helping them in this time?
We are trusted advisors. And so anytime, and so I know a lot of times people are like, oh, they just do your audit. But no, we are your trusted advisors. And so we always want our clients to call us so that we can partner with them to figure out a solution. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want is a solution. And so we love to communicate with them we try to keep up with all the regulations, all the things that are happening. The beautiful thing about Forvis Mazars is that I hate to call us an army, but we have an army of people here that all have the same goal, and that is to help our clients be successful. And so, what I always propose to my clients is call me. Let's talk about it. Let's look into those numbers. Let's sit at a round table and discuss your programs. Let's discuss your product and see how it all shakes out in terms of all of the executive orders and things like that, tariffs, and just all the things that keep you up at night because there's so much that keeps us up at night, right? And so I love to partner with our clients and to say, okay, this is what's coming down the pipeline. This is what we need to be thinking about whether it's enrollment. I know for a while, and it still is, like our universities, right? So the decline in enrollment. So how do we combat that? What kind of programs are you offering? Do the courses that you're offering still make sense? Do we need to cut some of them? Do we need to add? So it's just partnering with them in other ways. And I know that's more consulting, but because I'm the trusted advisor, I'm also like the matchmaker. Maybe I don't know all the answers, but who do you need to talk to get to a solution?
That's beautiful because I remember when I did auditing, I was immediately shocked by how people wanted me out. Like you come to ask something, like people want you out. But I feel like things have shifted so much and people understanding what's the value of your audit team beyond just getting the schedule or checking a box. Because you have been in that field. I've been on the other side. Like, how would you say the public profession evolved since the time you graduated back then?
Yeah, I would say it's so funny that you said that, Wasia. There is nothing that bothers me more than when people say, when I introduce myself and tell them what I do, they're like, oh, I bet people hate to see you come in. Like, it bothers me. Like, oh, you're the auditor. Oh, I bet people don't like you. Like, that's not the case, and maybe that's what it was before I entered the profession. But people like to see me coming. Like, I am here to support you. I'm here to help you. We have an audit to perform. Yes, there's some things that we're looking for, but how can I help you make your controls better? Like, what can I identify during my audit? Hey, you should consider this, or this isn't a segregation of duties. We need to tweak a couple of things, that kind of thing. How can I partner with you as it relates to your policies and reviewing like that kind of thing? And so we bring so much more value than just did you fail or not, you know? And so gone are the days of, oh my gosh, the audit team is coming because we really do want to partner with our clients. And so I think that I'll tell you what, Wasia, first 3 years, I did kind of get that sense of tension when we entered the room. Like almost like we're looking for something, like we're looking for you to do something wrong. But I will tell you, after maybe about year 3 or so, the perspective really did change. And they call me throughout the year. If I have a 1231 year end client, maybe we'll start in February or March, but they're calling me in July, September because they want to talk to me. They want to get insight. They want to, that's what I love. I encourage it to communicate with me throughout the year because I'm not just come see me this one time of the year, then I see you next year. Like that's not the way that the relationship works.
That's awesome. And I also like to always tap into our auditors because the last thing I want to do is not be in alignment throughout the year and then the end of year happen and it's too late, right? Like it's too literally too late.
But that's a good CFO, I see ya. That's a good CFO is to want to be in alignment. I think that's smart.
Thank you. And so, since I'm getting free advice here, what would you, I will ask, like, what do you think, like, not for profit CFO, not for profit business leaders, finance leaders should start thinking about in this climate, right? Like, what are some of the things you've seen? I know there are talks of maybe trying to go back and raise restrictions on certain funds. Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing that could help?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Marcia. I have, in talking to some of our clients, I have heard them trying to figure out things with their endowments. There's a lot of big money in endowments right now. Yes, some of those donor restricted net assets, like that kind of thing. So they're trying to figure out that avenue. But I'll tell you to always be forward thinking and don't operate in fear. In this climate, yes, it's chaotic. Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty is scary. I get it. Uncertainty is scary. But here's a good example. I was at an event a couple days ago, and the president of a rather large nonprofit here in Atlanta, he said, I've got $13 million stuck in DC. And he said, but I'm staying the course. We're just going to figure it out. We're going to do something different. What new programs can we bring in? There's a lot of organizations that are not federally funded. There's just so many things out there that could possibly be a resource for you. And so it takes creative minds. And so I just would encourage you to stay the course. And yeah, you might have some money stuck wherever it may be, but continue the course. Like, don't give up. This happens, right? There's so many points in history where there's this feeling of uncertainty and oh my gosh, they're running around like a chicken with their head cut. It's just going. And so I would just encourage all companies, all organizations to stay the course and don't operate in fear. Be very strategic. We have the innate ability to bounce back. We just do. And so we are smart, we are fully capable. You have to just put on your creative hats and then consult with your trusted advisors, whomever they may be, to get to a solution.
Love it. Love it. I love the positivity because I feel like that's something that you have to be intentional about. So, how do you stay intentional, not just at work, but probably in your personal life or other activities that you do? Because, like you said, uncertainty is scary, but you don't want to dwell on it. You don't want to operate in fear. So, what helps you keep that balance?
Oh, that's a good question. Love that question. I would say what helps me is I'm a life learner. And so I love to read. I always want to be in the know. So whether it's reading news articles, whether it's watching the news, however you get your information, like I always want to be in the know. But I understand that sometimes it can be heavy. Sometimes you watch the news or you read it and it's just a lot and it just really dampens your spirit. And so it's important to me that I'm always aware. I hate to not be aware. And so I'll get my information, I'll read it, and I'll kind of sit with it. I'm a person that sits with information. Like I'll think about it, I'll write. I'm a writer. And so sometimes I'll just kind of jot my notes down or my thoughts, or if I read something in the Wall Street Journal, ooh, this might work for this organization that I'm working with, or oh, this school, this is coming down the pipeline. I need to tell this school because this could directly affect them, just kind of that kind of thing. And then I have to step away. I ran track in college, but I am passionate about health and wellness. And so sometimes you just got to step away from all of it. There's something to be said about just physically getting your body into a space of just like peace and relaxation. I'm very conscientious of just like my health and wellness because this work is hard. Wasia, you're a CFO. I mean, it can give you gray hair, it can pull the hair out, it can give you wrinkles. So it just takes a toll on you. And so sometimes you really do have to step away. And so I'm really good about taking that initiative and just kind of stepping away.
I love how you say it gives you gray hair, it gives you wrinkle, but here you are, no gray hair on this head. The listeners cannot see, no wrinkle on this face. So tell us more about when you say stepping back. What does it look like for you? Maybe during the day, during the week, during the month, during the year? Like, how can someone do it? What are some practical tips you have? Because you're right. Like, this is a hard profession. I don't care which part of accounting and finance you are in, whether it's AP, auditing, treasury, tax, like there is a lot. Like, how can we do better in that area?
Oh, that's fantastic. Girl, I love these questions. So, what I do is, as I was mentioning earlier, I love to read, I love to be in the know. And so, I'm always thinking about my clients and how I can better serve them, how I can be a resource to them, and that sort of thing. But I step away a couple of times during the day. And so, lunch, let's talk about lunch, for example. How many people do you know that sit at their desk for lunch? A lot. I don't even have to wait for you to answer. A lot of people sit there, they eat their lunch in front of their computer. They say it's quicker, but there's something to be said about stepping away and eating elsewhere, eating if you work from home, eating in your kitchen, just like completely unplugged from work. Or if you're in the office, like eating in the break room, having that camaraderie with your coworkers. There's just something to be said about stepping away, and you have to be intentional. I have some focus time on my calendar, and it sometimes it's not even to like focus on a task. It's just to focus on me. Can you step away, go outside? It's springtime right now. So go outside if you don't have that allergies. If you do, you may not go outside. But to just kind of step away, just to take a minute. And I'm not saying, you're taking 30-minute breaks 4 times a day, but maybe a couple minutes, just hit a lab, talk, especially now that we have so many people who are remote workers. And that's why I love to come in the office, believe it or not, because when I was working at home, I felt like I was working from sunrise to sunset because I'm sitting and I'm just working. So I think it's just important to put time on your calendar. For those of us who are in the C-suite positions, people are pushing things to your calendars all the time. And so it's just important to block off some of that calendar for yourself because you only get one life to live. And so we work hard, but we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves.
Love it. Love it. And I also like the part back to when you were talking about seeing the news and seeing how it's going to affect your customers, your clients, or a certain industry. So, what helped you build that? Because I realized that's something I also needed to do in corporate finance, right? Becoming more strategic. But when you think about the work we do in school, there's nothing strategic about it. You're doing cost accounting, you're doing intermediate accounting, intermediate, like there is nothing strategic about it. Even when you start in audit, you're tying schedules. You start in corporate accounting, same thing. You're tying the prepaid schedule or the depreciation schedule. How do you make that leap into strategic thinking, strategic leadership, understanding the business, not just the numbers?
I love it. So I would say for me, as I worked my way up the corporate ladder, so as a staff, you're in the trenches. As staff senior, I mean, you're doing those debits and credits, you're vouching, you're tracing, you're doing, you're ticking and tying, you're doing all of that in the trench work, essentially. And so when you get to like the manager level, you have to start delegating. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have is they're like, oh, it's faster if I do it, or if I do it, I know it's going to be right. So I'll just do it myself. No, you have to delegate. You got to push that work down so that it can open up your schedule, your time, so that you can start thinking differently. No longer should a manager be ticking and tying. Like you have to think about the bigger picture. It's like the saying, seeing the forest from the trees is that type of thing. And I feel like that manager level is really that sweet spot of, okay, let me push this work down so that I can start thinking more strategically. And then you keep working at it. You keep because you're right. No one teaches you how to think strategically. They just don't. And I know people who are in leadership positions who struggle with that because they just don't know how to do it. And so I always encourage people to delegate. Delegate the things that you can delegate. And then that way it can give you the time to start thinking strategically and to read. A lot of people don't read. Whatever industry you're in, whether you're with the Wall Street Journal, the Atlanta Journal Constitution, whatever it is, Atlanta Business Chronicle, whatever it is, you just have to read because believe it or not, your mind starts to shift. You start thinking differently. And so I just encourage people to delegate so that it frees up your time to do some of the other things.
Love it. And would you say you have maybe mentors or sponsors or maybe recommendations for books? Like, what are some of the things that helped you in your journey toward like strategic leadership?
Oh, good. So I love a good mentor. I love a good mentor. I love to hear people speak. And I will tell you, this is no disrespect to the men your male listeners, but I love to see a female in a C-suite position. I love to hear them speak. I love to hear how they've done things. And I just start taking their little tips and tricks. And that's really what I do. I love to hear what worked for them. And they'll say, hey, I did this. This was a fail. Don't do that. Like, I love to hear real life experiences. And so really that's my main source. I love going to luncheons and things just to kind of hear them speak. And then I kind of glean from them. And I say, okay, well, I love how she did that. Oh, she mentioned this because she read that. So let me go do that. So, I just pick up little things like that along the way. And that has really just worked for me. But I'm a people person, so I recognize that. So I don't mind being around people. So that's my preferred method, but I understand that people are different.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how actually we met through, I think it was a breakfast with Janine Brown, my executive coach. And we're sitting next to each other. And I was like, oh, someone I feel like we have the same energy. So I agree. I don't necessarily think that you have to connect with everyone on the one-on-one, but you can observe, like you said. You can get a lot.
Yeah, you can't connect with everybody one on one, but man, you can observe and you can watch, you can see how they do certain things and then incorporate that in your life. And, you'd be surprised at how far you can go.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to ask you a few questions here, some of the last questions I have for you. What would you say is the best career advice you've ever received?
I have been told to say yes. It's so easy to say no. No, I don't want to go to that networking event. No, I don't want to do construction accounting. No, I don't want to work there. No, I don't want to try this. No, I don't want to, and so sometimes you have to say yes because there's always a lesson, right? There's always a lesson. And so I have a family, I have 3 kids, a husband, a dog. I'm very protective of my time. But you have to say yes to certain things. Say yes to the podcast, Wasia. You just have to be willing to say yes because you just never know what lesson you'll pick up. I'm a life learner. And then you never know who you'll meet. It's hard to meet people when you always say no to everything. I always encourage people to say yes, even if it sometimes make you uncomfortable. Say yes to that speaking engagement or say yes to working with a different team for this project. Just consider saying yes. No is such an easy default, but I just challenge people to say yes. And so that's what was planted in me. And so I love to kind of push it, pay it forward by, telling people to do the same.
That's awesome. And so I imagine now in your position that people go a lot to you. They come to you, you probably ask to be a mentor and ask to do a lot of things. So what career advice do you usually give besides saying yes?
I would say to network, network, but to always surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. I love I hate to say be the dumb one in the room, but I love to be around people who are just so much smarter than me because again, that's me learning. And so I tell people to never discount networking. Networking is so, so important. And we were talking about earlier being in college and how you don't necessarily learn strategic thinking and that sort of thing. But you also don't really learn networking either. It's such a vital part of your future. It just is. It's not only about who you know, but it's about who knows you. And so I always tell the young ladies and men who kind of come to me seeking counsel and that sort of thing is just continue networking, continue learning people, learning what they do. Don't learn it so that you can have an ask, but just to know them, right? Because maybe 10 years from now, who knows where you may cross paths again. So don't just learn people just to say, oh, I want to do your audit or I want to do your consulting work, but just kind of build that relationship and see how it blossoms. It's just so important. And I feel like it just doesn't get enough recognition.
I agree. Cause it's like on LinkedIn, people will send you a note, and next thing you know, it's like a bad dating incident. You go in, you say hi, and I just feel like there is a lost art of networking, getting to know people and being around others.
I agree. And LinkedIn is just such a good example, Marcia, because you're right. Like somebody will connect with you and then less than 24 hours you have an ask in your messages. I'm like, I don't even know what you do. Like I just and so LinkedIn, like, link, but just kind of watch their profile, see what they do, what are they posting about, what, you know what I mean, like kind of build that. But you're right, people always come in just guns blazing, just like, what can I get from you, like, I want to sell this to you. Somebody was trying to sell me something and it had nothing to do with my life. Like I don't I think it's like aluminum or something. I'm like, I'm a nonprofit auditor. Like, it's just so confusing.
I get those a lot. Like, I can help you with your bookkeeping clients, probably because I see CPA in my name. And I'm like, I don't have any bookkeeping clients, but oh well, that's the joys of LinkedIn.
such a good example, Wasia.
Thank you. Now, my last question is, what's your favorite thing to do outside of work?
So I mentioned this earlier. So I have 3 children. Their ages are 8, 9, and 11. And then I have my husband, and then I have a dog. And they all do sports. They're all, we do all the things. It's just I'm so busy. And I'm just so busy. And so when I'm not working, I'm usually tied up with my family stuff. But they're my world. I love them. They, are just the number one thing. But when I don't have to deal with them, it's kind of nice to have some Kendra time. And so when I am free and clear, I love to just watch a movie, like just a good movie, and just eat. And just like nobody talk to me, just eat and watch a movie. Like that is my happy place.
Oh, I love it. I love it when I don't have to deal with them. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Kendra, for being on the show. You're such a joy, such a beam of energy. Love having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Marcia. You are amazing. I love the work that you're doing. It's incredible. I love the podcast, and you are just second to none.
And that's it for today's episode of The Diary of a CFO. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, review, subscribe, and share with others. Our website is thediaryofacfo.com. That's where you can find all the episodes, access all the guest profiles, see their bios, and the social media links. It is also the place where you can apply to be a guest on the podcast and have information about how you can sponsor the show. As always, if there is any topic you would like me to cover in the future, just email me at ask@thediaryofacfo.com. Again, the email is ask@thediaryofacfo.com. See you soon.